I'm Thomas Blair.
I'm Mark Halash.
And this is our Crowfall Live edition where we read the patch notes and do Q&A for whatever we're talking about.
That's right.
All right. Okay, so we are going to start with the patch notes that have now been edited for 5.3.
Supposed to say hi to my niece.
And we're going to say hi to Gibson's niece.
Oh.
What's her name again?
Marina.
Marina.
Hi, Marina.
Hi, Marina. And let's go. Do we want to start with race class?
Yes, sir.
All right. We already know the Elkin is now playable. Everyone has been having a good time in the test server playing the Elkin, and the Cleric is now a playable class. We are working out the kinks with the Cleric through all of this. Made primary and secondary stats dynamic based on class type. What does that mean, Mark?
Where are we at now?
Right here at the beginning.
No. Dynamic based on class.
No,
type.
made primary and secondary stats dynamic based on class.
Made primary and secondary stats dynamic based on class. Oh, I think that's talking about armor. That's probably in a weird place. So if you keep reading down there a little bit, we'll get to the
added non-specific fidgets to all playable classes. Okay,
right.
Radiance or animation fidgets. Classes are now restricted to using specific types of armor. Plate is used by Knight and Templar. Mail is used by Champion, Myrmidon, Cleric, and Druid. Leather is used by Confessor, Frostweaver, Ranger, Assassin, and Duelist. Enable the coming soon options for character classes so you can tell what's coming soon. As a temporary measure to assist with all tests, all classes have automatically been granted an extra 25% mitigation in their native armor's main protection type between physical, elemental, and organic, and a 15% mitigation bonus to their native armor's secondary protection type.
right. And so what that's doing there is attempting to simulate having gone very far into the armor tree, so we can kind of get a baseline of what it's going to feel like once somebody's been playing for a while. So this is basically to give you a little bit of a leg up and help us get a...
Because we're anticipating 25% mitigation in their primary from the skill trees.
Right.
Gotcha.
Just in that ballpark.
Okay, we added new weak point chance stats and amounts for the harvesting weak point system. Harvestables can now have weak points based on player weak point chance statistic. If the reticle is placed over the weak spot, players will deal damage according to their weak spot statistic. Yes. Added a new single non-comboing basic left attack to basic bows. That's right, so basic bows now are a non-comboing basic attack because all of your left clicks are based off of your weapon that you have wielded. So they don't get a cool series of attacks. You have to be a ranger or take a bow discipline to get those. Rangers now default to basic bows and recurve bows. Their cool attacks are part of their recurve bow. Basic bows are granted to everyone if they take the bow discipline along with a various flavor of advanced bow. Yeah, I believe there's the compound reflex bow, the
Recurve.
There's the recurve, which is the ranger. Right. There's also the arcane longbow, and then there's one more.
And the basic.
The sharpshooter, whatever the sharpshooter one. High tension.
Oh, maybe that was it.
High tension compound bow of bonus. Reduced most bow ranges to 15. So everyone at this point should have figured out that the experimental range stat on the bow plus the base plus the discipline stuff is giving them plenty of range.
Yes, you can shoot a very, very long way.
So all bow powers that use a ground target remain fixed range, generally 35 to 30 meters, except for Arcane Archer. However, I found yesterday we were stat modding that by distance.
Stat modding which?
The root on Arcane Archer. So I looked at the bottom, and there was a stat mod in there, so I went ahead and removed that.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that fixed that, so you can no longer take that greater than 35 meters.
Did you find that bug and close it?
I did not find that bug and close it.
We'll have to do that.
That must still be in Jira lurking for someone to be like, hey, this is totally working the way it should. Duelist can now dual-wield pistols when Master of Pistols discipline is equipped. Super cool. Re-added the avatar display to the character customization screen. Okay. Yeah, so for a long time when we were developing this update, we couldn't see the character when we were making the when you're selecting stuff. It was just a big blank, and they finally put it back in. Hooked up the reset and randomize buttons in the customization window. Great. Here we go to the power trays. Sorry, I got distracted by some comments. Not ready to start answering stuff yet. We will get there. In order to load out powers into a specific tray or alter your default combat tray, you must be in that specific tray before pressing K. Otherwise, it will appear as though you have no powers. This has already been changed based on what I saw on Akshay's machine yesterday.
So it's a temporary thing.
It's a temporary thing. In the new power book that's coming, we actually show you all available trays, and you're able to drag to anyone that you want to. Cooldowns on tray powers will now properly update even after entering a full screen takeover. Very important. Can no longer swap trays while stunned, suppressed, or knocked down. Yes. We already know the dizzy stuff. Set all trays swaps to a power blackout and not a global blackout. Very important. Added stealth racial powers to the survival tray. Okay, so I guess that means so you can load them out. Players can now map weapons and armors to a power tray and equip using a hotkey. Can they? I think we disabled that, even though it's in the patch note.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that note, actually.
Because it's basically, I had to enable potions and things other than wood grubs. Like, we had apples and wood grubs in there working. We didn't have potions. I just got the potions working last week. Tray swap UI and power map is updated when the trays are granted or removed. Yep. Mapped power should persist after logging out of the game and logging back in. That was annoying for a couple days, and it's funny how you forget about things like that, but it was super annoying that every time you died and logging in and out, you lost your entire mapping.
Yeah. It was
super annoying. Okay, you want to grab the next block?
Sure. Let's see. Action harvesting. Updated all harvesting to use instant powers. So that's instead of the old channeled, right? This is the new hotness.
New hotness.
Harvesting a node with the wrong tool will not give harvest pips.
Or no tool.
Or no tool.
That's the next line.
Right. Harvesting a tool with no tool, or I'm sorry, harvesting a tree with no tool will not give harvest pips.
Correct. And they updated the animations. We haven't called that out.
Oh yeah. Oh, I tell you what. Look, do Ganeshan is probably the best.
Yes.
The best.
Try the Ganeshan no tool because they decided they all should be custom and funny. So
they are that.
You will enjoy them.
Let's see. Crafted tools also create power tray shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Change harvestable loot prompt to the left mouse button and change the harvest tray to the survival tray. Reduce stamina cost of the no harvest tool.
Yep.
Is that still valid? Actually, that is valid. Okay. Added a passive stacking damage buff to punching trees, so it doesn't totally suck for new players. I think that was that's an older note. Tray should now determine your reticle instead of the combination of tray plus in and out of combat state. That's kind of a big change.
Yeah.
Right-click dodge powers should be able to get loaded out into the survival tray.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you do that. Added summoning animation to the animal and grave tools. Fixed a bug where skinnable harvest nodes could trap the player when they spawn. And I've had
That's
that
kind of an
to me,
important one, yeah.
Right? It's like
The boar
you click and you're like, oh, whoa, what happened? What's happening to me?
Yep.
That won't happen anymore. When using the harvest wood no tool power, if you're not targeting a tree, you should now get prompted to go find a tree when you harvest.
Go find a tree.
Go find a tree. Energetic harvest. When the player has any empowered harvesting passives equipped, they will now only see the base energetic harvesting buff plus the type of buff associated with the current tool they have equipped. That was Blair.
Yes, that was a refinement that I added on that one. Because it was annoying that you were getting everything at once.
Moving on to skill trees. Skill trees may take up to 8 seconds to load or navigate through. Mm-hmm. We're currently investigating a fix for this.
It's actually about 3 seconds, 3 to 4 now. It's down.
It's not as long as it was prior to this.
Susie is still refining that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely getting better. A revamp of the skill system has been added, including the addition of the time bank. The skills you train are not specifically tied to a vessel. Rather, they can carry over from one vessel to the next. Mm-hmm. Training continues to occur even when you are not online. Mm-hmm. Always happened. The time bank does not have, or I'm sorry, the time bank does have a cap, which means you can queue up to 24 hours of skills to train. Currently, everyone is set to only train 3 skills at a time, with the VIP training feature currently disabled.
Okay, yep. Yeah, we wanted to test everything baseline first, and then we can layer VIP on top of that. And then we added all these trees.
Added a bunch of trees, right?
Yeah.
They've all been there. Added, renamed Armor Decay rate children stats so they include the name of the thing so you can see them when you see them in your list.
Yep.
Percentage completed on Tree of Trees for each unlocked tree is now displayed. So that's the one level up, the hierarchy. You can use the tree view, what that means. Added all class skill trees. Again, it's adding more trees. Percentage completed on Tree of Trees. Did I just read that? I did. Added in the ability to close skills from the lobby with escape. Yay! Swapped out elemental mitigations for organic mitigations in the Barbarian Tree. This is all actually, you never saw that. But did fix personal critical. Actually, you never saw that one either, but yeah, fix some stuff you never saw. Should I keep going? Discipline powers?
I'll grab the next block.
Okay.
A general pass has been made on the basic attack, and many other power descriptions have been updated with proper descriptive text. Yes, we're trying to get better at our descriptions and our tooltips. Timing pass on all activatable abilities. Damage pass on all damage abilities.
Usual stuff.
Unarmed attack should work again. A pass on buffs displaying under nameplates has also been done. Reduced ranged discipline grant from 10 to 5. What is that?
Was that not the skills?
Oh, yeah. They used to give... ultimately, the intent is for that value to be an experimentable stat. It's just we really don't have that portion of discipline crafting ready yet. Whoa, screen just flashed. Issue with disciplines persisted on power tray after being deleted has been fixed. Toggle powers will now shut off if you change trays and they aren't slotted into the new tray. Yes, that way you can't use your trays as an overflow. Remove basic attacks from bow disciplines as they are now granted in the weapon object. But going back to the toggle powers, what we have done is made them slottable in even, I think, the survival trays.
Yes.
So you don't have to reactivate it every time you swap trays if you choose to keep it on there.
Right.
You have to keep it on.
So that is by design. If you want to be running your your Bard Song of Speed in both the Harvest tray and your melee tray, you need to have them on both.
Correct. Added major and minor discipline passives to the list that can be loaded out while in the Harvest tray. Most major discipline buffs can be used in the Harvest tray. This does not include healing powers. We purposely kept healing powers out of the survival tray. We need to stop referencing Harvest tray in here because we're calling it the survival tray.
Yes, we are. Yeah, that's true.
Group leader passive can now be loaded into the survival tray. Yep. Granted all players mental fortitude as a passive, but not equipped if their PCM is too high. Reduced baseline mental fortitude from 20% to 10%. There is an advanced version of it called Weapon Finesse that is available to Blade Master, I believe, and there's one other discipline that has the advanced one if you really don't want to. Hey, look at that. Added improved version of Weapon Finesse, which reduces resource cost by 20%. I was getting ahead of myself. Set armor penetration on spot weakness to 5%. Which one is spot weakness part of?
I believe that's Ranger? Was it Ranger? I'm not sure.
All right.
I would have to look.
It's one of the very many. I'm sure when you put this in, it made sense. Bard's Song of Speed no longer cancels when entering combat.
That's the third hit, right? Third hit on the Ranger.
Oh, okay.
Is what I meant by the Ranger.
Oh, did it used to be stacking? I thought it used to stack to 15%. It's been a while.
Either way, it's 5%.
Okay. The issue with Bard's Song of Speed remaining at combat buff amounts if the buff was placed on you before you were in combat mode and then went in non-combat mode has been fixed. Yes, it automatically just works when you toggle between states now. Rework Seeker's Blessing buff from Fire to play nicely with Trailblazer and Bard songs. Yes. Master of Pistols power critical dodge can occur more than 2 times in 45 seconds. Did you?
I think that's supposed to be fixed, but yeah. That's supposed to occur up to 2 times.
Okay. Bard's Song heal needs to be in survival tray, else you can't twist. Also, it's not a heal, but a regen amount. I think you made it...
No, it's pretty much... We're considering it a heal, so it's not going in the...
I thought you added it to the survival tray.
I did not because it's a heal.
Okay. I thought I saw a patch note from you where you added it.
Right, and then I'm like, oh, wait, no, we're not doing this. And then I said, don't... There shouldn't be a patch note on that.
Okay.
You should not see a patch note on that.
Okay, that was... Yeah, just forget that. That was an internal one that I'm pretty sure I saw. Maybe you...
And that's why I sent out that Slack message like, hey, don't mention that.
Oops, I must have missed that Slack message. We see a lot of Slack messages. Burning Hatred can no longer trigger from damage you do to yourself, such as falling. Updated Burning Hatred tooltip to make it clear that it heals a percentage base. Blood Pact can no longer be used by the Templar or Duelist class. What's funny is Blood Pact... Blood Pact in the harvesting tray was actually causing you to explode and kill yourself in one hit.
Mm-hmm. Because of the same reason that Templar and Duelists...
That was a good one. Yeah, I disabled it yesterday from the survival tray. It automatically cancels if you have it active and you go into the survival tray. So you won't be exploding yourself anymore. Mm-hmm. I also had to change Villain's put your back into it because of the same reason. Basically, anything with our resource modification with the anything that uses pips, and the harvest system basically uses pips for the combo points, causes you to explode. We've hit a case where it actually makes the characters explode. That's hilarious. But since you can't do it anymore, don't worry about it. Fixed a visual issue for Mortal Sin, Long Live the Fighter, Ghost Army, and Haunt showing up as debuffs on the caster. That was just a polish. Yeah, polish. Fixed scale for Axe Master cooldown combo, which was 2 decimal places off, but safely capping power cooldown short. Thank goodness for the power caps. Updated Master of Daggers crippling stab description to reflect its current functionality. What is its current functionality?
I would have to look at the description of crippling stab.
Trailblazer Trailmaster should restart when the power is shut off in any way. Seems legitimate. Many tweaks to camouflage, including the functionality of canceling it when the player enters combat, and Trailblazer Master buffs are suppressed while it is active. Added a 45-second cooldown to Burrow Camo. Yes, Borland gave us a way to add a cooldown when a toggle power turns off. So we now do that. Adjusted the stamina regen pauses on Camo and Burrow to use a period instead of an amount. Added Retaliate and Soul powers as valid for use in the survival tray. Yes, you can use them. Adjusted all soul powers to force you into combat when used in the survival tray. Yes. Any cases where you guys end up in a combat state in the survival tray is a bug, and please put up on the forums. Let us know so we can fix them.
You shouldn't see that.
It should never happen because we are now governing your combat state via the tray you're in.
Right.
So if you're able to get into some weird state, please tell us and we will go investigate. Discipline Retaliates can be loaded out into the survival tray. Fixed Candle That Burns icon, so it is a buff icon instead of a debuff. Yes, it is a buff. Naiad Supreme Element passive. Fixed issues with the procs not correctly activating on the various damage types. Corrected an issue preventing the stealth detection component for Mole Hunter, Heads Up, and Aura of Terror disciplines. Adjusted the critical chance and or critical hit damage for the following powers to 10%. Careless Whisper, Nothing to Lose, Revenge, Ricochet Shot, and Deadly Retaliation. Did they used to be much higher?
Between much, well, they were all different.
Okay.
Right, so I mean, you know.
Basically, we normalize them.
Yes, we normalize them, and basically, the idea is this is the balance time, right? When we're now that disciplines are in, most of them are working. We're going through and making sure that things are basically there aren't any outliers that are super broken.
Duper,
yeah.
Yep.
Broken.
The cost to activate Nothing to Lose has been reduced to 500 health. Set Ultimate Warrior Glass Cannon Resolution, Furious, and all clear damage bonuses to 10%. Sounds like more...
Same reason.
Yep. Glass Cannon now increases damage taken by 10%. Sturdy now reduces damage by 33% while your health is above 80%. Guardian Rhythms now reduces damage taken by 5% or 10% for the twisting version. Illusory Armor now reduces damage by 7%. I always love those weird numbers because you're like, how did they arrive at 7%? Not 6, it's not 8.
It's not 10.
It's 7.
But it's more than 5.
Mm-hmm. Rune Carved Flesh now reduces damage by 10%. Corrected an issue with slow demise and festering wounds that prevented the healing bonus reduction from applying. Okay. Take Root now increases healing bonus by 10%. Group Leader Thorn's bonus is now up to +10.
Right. And the reason for all of these basically is since a lot of these are stackable, we basically don't want you to be able to cap your stats from one source. Right. That's what really ultimately all this is about, right? If you can just cap something by equipping 2 disciplines, then why do you care about skills or gear
or any other progression?
Any other progression, right? So I mean, this is not just like Halash is evil. This is more like Halash wants a.
You are evil.
Good game. I actually am evil.
That's besides the point that
I actually am evil.
He is evil. Yes, things needed to be kind of brought into some semblance. Created Dominator Minor Discipline for Champion, which adds dominance on basic attack crit. You know what? I don't think anybody... We haven't even talked about the champion.
It's just quietly sitting there.
It's just... I don't even know that people have noticed the dominance meter on the champion.
Or just how deadly the champion maybe can
be. It goes up because they've been playing Myrmidon.
Yes,
Myrmidon is back to the new hotness.
Mm-hmm.
Champion has his dominance meter, and what do those 10 pips do? Because I noticed there's 10 little leaves on it.
So anytime you leap or and also activating Ultimate Warrior,
okay,
you get one or more pips of the dominance, right? And you spend those pips of dominance to get guaranteed critical hits on your trait powers. And specifically, I think it is Great Cleave, your 4 basically, the one that goes into the spinny one, actually does bonus damage if you spend dominance with it. So that's your big hitter, but more or less you'd be a crit monkey.
Well, so crits on. I mean, the champion is a slow, heavy. He's supposed to be our slowest class. Yeah. So all of his animations are tweaked to be the slowest, which because
not all of them. See, he has some fast trait powers. So I mean, like,
but if remember, his left clicks are pretty slow.
His left clicks are pretty slow, which means they hit hard. And he does have some slow. Massive Cleave is a big slow power and hits like a freight train if you use it with dominance, right? And so pretty much the game is like, you can get the crits on all your trait powers, but they're not going to do as much as Massive Cleave. So do you want to save your dominance for the great big nasty crit that you know is going to be there, or do you want to get rock the CC, which is going to do a lot less damage, but we'll still crit. Crits are crits, baby.
Right.
It's all good.
And especially if you have a bunch of crit damage as well. So that will only scale higher as you get more and more crit damage.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so basically the champion got a whole new mechanic that's kind of been quietly added.
Quietly brewing. If you didn't notice,
it's a line item patch. So for those
14 pages of patch notes,
if you haven't logged in the champion in a while, check him out. Removed rage degeneration in combat, reduced rage degeneration out of combat. They still have the discipline?
They do still have the discipline. The discipline is better than default. Right?
Okay.
So I mean, it's going to give you rage generation in combat, and it reduces the.
Okay.
So it's still.
It's still useful.
This This basically just means you don't lose what you have.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, you lose a lot less of what you have. Right. You don't lose it in combat.
I just want to make sure the passive is still useful.
Yes, passive is still useful.
I'd missed this line.
It is better.
Added functionality to the Black Mask discipline. We got... Borland gave us positional combat a couple weeks back, so I quickly finished off Black Mask, which has been waiting for that functionality for a couple weeks, as well as I think it gives a damage buff when you leave stealth for the passive. It's called Shadows Linger. You get 3 seconds of heightened damage right after breaking stealth. Call Darkness while active acts as though all attacks count from behind. So this will become more important as we start adding more positional stuff.
Right.
So
like the Assassin.
So
where that's going to be a good thing to take when you have the nasty backstabs.
There's Shadows Linger. Shadows Linger can no longer be equipped in any tray except a stealth tray. Half Giant racial passives grant 5% damage bonus for 12 seconds. Human activated passives grant 10% damage bonus and a 5% increase in resource cost with a 45-second cooldown. I think we've gone with 45 seconds for most of the racial powers. Human passive reduces damage by 3%. Nethari personal crit chance mod is a negative 3%. All racial passives can be loaded out from the survival tray. Racial Burrow will now play the come back above the ground animation when they deactivate the power. Very important.
Yes.
Adding the Burrow end to the common stealth cancel passive. Stealth now breaks if you eat a consumable while stealthed. Seems legit. Centaur Charge can now be used with no weapon and loaded into the survival tray. All right, you want to grab the champion?
Sure. Let's see. Remove weird buff icon that shouldn't be there in Champions League 2.
All right.
Yes, it was just a strange buff icon that was there. You're no longer rooted while performing Massive Cleave, which means you're no longer rooted while performing Massive Cleave, and you can run people.
Okay.
Added a new pool, Dominance, for champions. Champions gain a point of dominance when leaping, and 2 points of dominance with each activation of Ultimate Warrior, up to a total of 10 points of dominance. Dominance decays slowly over time, very slowly. Dominance is consumed by the following abilities for a guaranteed crit. And then disarming, basically Disarming Shout, Massive Cleave, Rend, Spinning Back Fist, Vicious Stomp, Whirling Pain, pretty much all your melee trait powers. The cost of Whirling Pain has been reduced, and the full cost is deducted on ability use. So it's actually much cheaper to use Whirling Pain. And if you use a point of dominance to activate Whirling Pain, every hit of it will crit. So you can literally be a nasty, nasty dude with that. In addition to the guaranteed crit, Massive Cleave causes additional damage when used with dominance. Pointing that out again. Hooked up new champion UI widget for dominance stat. This looks like kind of a cool necklace of teeth. No doubt of your enemies. Whirling Pain eats a point of dominance at the beginning of the ability rather than when it ends. Actually, you never saw that being any different, but that's the way it works.
Cleric.
Moving on to the Cleric. Corrected buff overrides and added string references where necessary for a bunch of things. Divine Order added invulnerability and related ultimate effects. Interesting. I might have forgotten to add that. Some of these you may not have seen. Divine Order and Miracle superpowers abilities now restore some of your own mana. Actually, this is all internal stuff, isn't it, right? Because we just released the Cleric. So, so a lot of these are for things they probably never saw. But whatever, I'll read them anyway. Made Hush Prayer visible. Tune the cost of Cleric basic attacks. Flash of Light now requires a shield.
Makes
Holy
sense.
Aura and Vengeful Aura now actually affect your group as well as you. Change the Anim ID to map to the same ones as the Night Block for the unarmed Cleric powers. Cleric basic attack should now correctly do damage at farther distances. That's good. Cleric basic left click now modded by PCM. Confessor Immolation can now be loaded out into the harvest tray.
Yeah, all of the ultimates can be loaded out.
Yeah. Druid.
We haven't mentioned yet, and I don't know, I want to make sure we do mention it before we run out of time, is the soul power cost.
Soul power. Oh, yeah, you know what? I don't... We definitely did this. I don't know if I've run into any...
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen a note about it, but I noticed people have been reporting it as a bug.
Yeah.
But we clearly made some of the soul powers cheaper.
Yeah, which includes, like, Immolation, for example, is 500.
It's 500 instead of 1,000.
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll have to make sure we update the patch notes with that, because that is something I know everybody would be very interested in knowing. If I might be able to remember these offhand, since they're not getting this exclusively from, let's see, the ones that I'm positive are 500 would be the Night, whatever that's called.
Leap Smash.
Leap Smash. Ranger Sustain.
Sustain definitely is cheaper. Leap Smash is cheaper.
And this Sustain's actually got a nice buff with some of the bug fixes we got. With that...
Yeah, because Sustain now... Basically, the problem we were having with Sustain was it was either too good or it sucked.
Goldilocks problem was the problem with Sustain.
So we got a way to cap it such that we could at least make it always good.
Yes, it is now always basically, and I don't know if I saw that note in there either, but it is true. Sustain, you will now, you can gain up to 30% of your maximum health, and the life steal portion is much
because
much
without
higher.
that cap, we were basically trying to do some number magic.
And it's never going to work.
And
Right?
it never is
either
gonna work.
Either it's going to be just absolute god mode for the entire duration, or it's going to be like, you know.
Or we have to play conservative and balance it on the low end. Whereas now we can always we since that cap was put in and it works.
Yeah, and it works, and it's all good.
So sustain got a lot better.
Yep. Confessor Immolation would be another one I completely lost. What page are we on, Blair?
We're on page 6.
Page 6.
Yes.
Right. Before
Okay.
I sidestep myself there. And what's he doing there?
I just want to see what time schedule we were on.
Oh, that's true, because you made me
With the same time schedule
hide the
in a row.
taskbar.
Yeah, we don't have a
Hide the
clock in here.
taskbar.
We're filming this in a closet. So
Anyway,
there's
right.
no
We're
clock.
in a
Taskbar.
closet. We're in the what looks like
We're
could be
in
San
a
Diego or
studio.
Hawaii or some
Yes,
beautiful place.
it looks like we're in Hawaii, but actually we're in a closet.
No,
We're in a
you're
closet.
in St. Lucia,
St.
wherever
Lucia?
that is with those beautiful mountains. If you hadn't gotten rid of the taskbar, you would have a clock on the
I know.
screen.
Can you believe that? Totally bit me in the ass.
All right.
Put a patch note. Added clock back to stream, so I can tell what time it is.
I'll put a big one next to the googly eyes.
Okay, back to task.
Druids. Shroud of Darkness won't stun you if you initiate damage on yourself, for example, by falling. I know I've read that one before. So some of these you might have heard. But Nature's Avatar attack flag remains for the duration of the entire channel instead of wearing off after a second and change.
Okay.
Coalesce Nature will now restore resource to all class types. That's nice. Lightning Chain Combo number 2 is no longer hitting multiple targets. Master of Shields taking stamina instead of primary resource. I guess that's supposed to say fixed. Druid staves should now properly grant healing orbs. Left click in the healing tray. That's good. Druid removed from Careless Whisper discipline users. It's a channel, so we can't have it. Sorry, Blair. Corrected an issue preventing Contain Essence and Empower from working. Druid Essence meter should now only show up when you're in the combat tree. Essence Scram has been split into 2 separate abilities, each usable from a specific tray and the harvest tray.
It seems like so long ago.
And it really was.
It
was
seems like months and months ago.
It was legitimately maybe 10 days.
I know. It's
Which-
our time scale gets
Yeah,
so messed up.
It's like
It feels
almost
like
dog years. It's like that was 70 days ago, something like that.
so. Essence Scram and Death Surge are now the two.
Yes, Essence Scram and Death Surge are the two Druid ultimates. Essence Scram is usable from the healing and harvest tray. Now rapidly drain yourself of essence, repeatedly inflicting damage to nearby enemies, restoring 25 to 35% maximum health to group members and yourself, granting temporary damage immunity, removing expose and dizzy effects. Pretty much what all ultimates do. Death Surge, very similar, but it basically does the heal and it gives you a buff, as well as all the other normal and vulnerable stuff. Added icons for Essence Burn tray types in the HUD. And let's see, Duelist. Hooked up Duelist Stealth to use a tray power. That's transparent stuff. Removed old Duelist activate and deactivate power from power
Yeah, they didn't need
grants.
those old buttons.
Yeah, that's true. You have free up some spots for the Duelist. Added tool removal to in and out of combat passive. Broke pistols into main hand and offhand. Remove Duelist access to range slot. Now that pistols use primary and secondary slots.
Yep.
Default Duelist uses offhand pistols. Taking the pistol mastery discipline grants the main hand pistols. Pistol mastery left click is now linked to the main hand pistols. We can do that now. Duelist pip meter should now only show up when you're in the combat tray. And fixed tooltip issue, reporting incorrect amount of for Benetti's defense, and for Humiliations Galore, saber attacks should generate bonus pips. Yay. And I've confirmed that it's actually working because I saw it working day before yesterday, last playtest. Chain pull no longer roots you in place when activated.
There was some
Yay.
nasty bug in there too for the double attack one. I can't remember which one that was, but we fixed it.
We fixed it.
We fixed it.
Yes, you can chain pull on the run, so that's good, and should actually work a lot better too. Far Step is now an attack that teleports you directly to your target rather than a can distance blink. Yes, that means you cannot use Far Step as a movement power. You have to have a target. However, since it is supposed to be a attack, I fall on the side of having it function as an attack rather than a movement power, which it was never really intended to be. So I do not. I know some of you aren't happy about that, but it's an attack. So and it works. It works.
It works as long as you have a target,
right? As opposed to before, where it sometimes didn't, sometimes did, depending on the day. Added a quiver item that rangers can equip in the ammo slot. Works as a vanilla flavored arrow and decays like normal equipment. So that's cool. If you're a ranger, you can now be free from the burden of arrows by crafting yourself a quiver.
Yep.
Oh, look, there is a note for sustain. Sustain now costs 500 soul power, with a lifesteal portion of the ability lasting for 30 seconds or until the ranger heals for 30% health. So that's basically what we did. So you basically, that will roll until for 30 seconds or 30% health, pretty much what I just said. Templar Devotion won't heal damage initiated by yourself, for example, by falling. And then we're on to stats. You want to take stats?
Yes. Added elemental penetration, organic penetration, physical penetration, and armor penetration stats, which feed into the other penetration stats. Okay. Added new stats, which act as parents to the lowest level crowd control stats, and are children of all the top level CC all stats based on the 3 categories of crowd control: attack control, hard control, movement control, for defenses and intensity. So both vectors of it. Tuned XP tiers for all race, class, and combat trees. Okay, so that's the multiplier on the on how long it takes to learn a skill.
So it should be.
Changed pips required to train the next box from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5 for the mastery. Basically, how many pips it takes to progress through the tree. Basic armor mitigations have been reduced to 5%. Is that that must be in one of the stats. Deleted some old methods of using snare to slow player based on combat or in stealth.
I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what that is.
It wasn't me who did it. Who did it?
Buffs, debuffs now apply their bonuses to the current base movement speed. Oh, you know, I think that was me, and I think I found a power that had some lingering odd. It was one of the Knight or Legionnaire powers, which really doesn't matter at this point for the Legionnaire, but it was
maybe block or something. Because I know there were cases where if you're doing the thing, slow you down.
There used to be a old sprint to left click combo.
Okay.
That applied a snare back in the early days when we were struggling to kind of keep things contained, and it was just living in there. I don't think it activated, but I just didn't want it to ever risk activating.
Okay.
So I cleaned one of those up. Crafting. Crafting items should now properly contribute durability from the base template as well as the components, not just the components.
That's cool. Yeah.
So you should get credit for all of your durability on your items. I know for tools it makes the tools almost 3 times as durable on an advanced harvesting tool versus a regular harvesting tool. Fixed a bug where the items in the inventory would not be destroyed when they broke from decay. That's a good bug to fix.
Yeah.
Fixed a bug where item decay toast would show the wrong item name.
True.
Your breastplate is about to break. No, actually, your axe is about to break. Removed old harvesting runes and created new recipes for basic harvesting axe, hammer, pick, and knife. Yes, it's very explicit what you're going to make now. And they all require 3 wood.
3 iron?
3. Significantly increased the effectiveness of achieving both good and great success in crafting experimentation.
Boom.
Boom. Increase the resource quality contribution bonus for common, uncommon, and rare resources. Increase the experimentation point cap per line for non-legendary resources as follows. Poor and common 6, uncommon 7, rare 8, epic 9. Let's talk about this for a while.
Yeah, so I mean, what this last set of notes basically means is you should get way better results for handcrafting, or basically for any your good successes should actually be good, and your great successes may actually be great with the current changes. So essentially, you should get much better results, right? If you can achieve a good or a great result by handcrafting, you should actually be fairly happy with the results compared to how they were.
And we pushed up the amount of pips that you can get for the lower quality items, such that there isn't because before I think it was 3 for a poor and 4 for a white.
And so basically really what that meant is the only thing that was really worth using was the very, very top end stuff, which you're just never realistically you're not gonna be able to achieve by hand. And so this basically this will just give you a better experience for
it means the lower end isn't as low as it was, and the higher end isn't as high as it was.
Right. Well, the higher end is as high as it's ever been.
It's still 10 points, but it doesn't. Right. The difference between the two, I guess, is a better way of looking at it.
Yes, the difference is much closer.
Okay. Advanced staff did not have any PCM on it and any components. We added a line for that. Added a PCM experiment line in arms for the shield recipe, so your shields can now reduce your power cost multiplier, so you can make cooler shields. Updated all advanced weapon recipes to now include a crit damage experimentation line and set it so PCM is only experimented on for 1 component during the crafting process. Yes, the multipliers with 2 was just creating, again, this huge gulf of have and have not, so by removing 1, it makes it much, much better. Remove PCM from all bow components replaced with attack rating. Yes, bows don't need PCM because they use arrows. And you can't use a partial arrow when you shoot. Tweaked distance coefficient on experimentation values for crafting bows. So yes, there's now a distance. Added in a basic one-handed hammer to the basic weapon crafting recipes for the cleric. Clerics need their weapons. Created a quiver recipe for the new ranger item. Excuse me. Basic bow range is no longer experimentable. Yep, we want basic bows to be basic. So basic stuff is basic, and advanced stuff is way better. And we're probably going to insert a level there of an intermediate weapon at some point. Removed and deprecated major, basic, and weapon discipline recipes and large unmarked runestone. Didn't need them anymore. Added a public test crafting recipe for the new Dominator discipline. Makes sense. Harvesting disciplines have been added to the pre-alpha test recipe list under major disciplines, which are Scout, Miner, Logger, Quarryman, Skinner, Gravedigger, Villain, Hoarder, Connoisseur, Lookout, Survivalist, and Foreman. Basically, here comes the harvesting disciplines. Remove dual weapons from the crafting list for 5.3. Yes, dual weapons are no longer a thing. Thank you for serving us well for many years. You have now been replaced by the one-handed weapons, and you can equip 2 of them, if your class is allowed to. Removed unobtainium recipe requirement from the archery disciplines, as you can now craft them. In fact, we got rid of the whole unobtainium thing because we now have a way to hide recipes from the players, which before we didn't, believe it or not. So we can now make all kinds of recipes that you guys can't see, and we no longer need to put unobtainium on them just to tantalize you and be like, hey, why can't I make this? We can just hide it from you until it's ready. It's kind of funny that we built that. We didn't have a way to hide any recipes from it.
Well, I mean, it's things you don't think about until you need to do them.
Or it's just a thing that would have taken extra time. And yep. Remove test potions that conflict with new harvesting disciplines and create a Motherlode alchemy potion with a duration of 30 minutes. I think I also went through and made a pass at the components required for all of those. Let's move on to...
You guys only have about 15 minutes left.
Okay, let's go for...
Give or take, whatever.
Let's go to the page 10.
Page 10.
Yeah, because this is stuff that we've made in the subsequent, since we put 5.3 up on test. Retaliate no longer requires a weapon.
Yeah, that's actually good, yeah.
Added screen shake when duelists perform some of their larger attacks because they were feeling kind of plain. Added screen shake when duelists perform some of their
larger attacks.
Oh, for the ranger. Oh, it says duelist, but it's under the ranger.
That's right. The rangers actually also cause duelists to have screen shake.
All duelists in the world will now screen shake when rangers do an attack. Ranger archer stake. Replace the old style snare icon. Yeah, it had a...
Yeah, old snare icon. Now it has a new snare icon.
Mm-hmm. Fixed a bug where items placed in the local bank would become inaccessible after a server restart.
Ouch.
Fixed a bug that would prevent players from logging in if they had last logged out with a harvesting tool active. Oops. Those ones are kind of funny because when we're testing, we play in our developer mode and our characters aren't persistent. So we start with a new character every time. So we don't see a lot of those persistence bugs loading the character from the database. Changing weapon grip to no longer be under one-handed weapon components, but under the weapon components list with metal bars. This should help with finding the component for crafting weapons. Yeah, we're trying to categorize those things and make it easier for you guys. Added diamond cutting blade, grinding wheel, water flask, and empty flask icons. Ooh, icons are starting to come online. Recipe tweaks to alchemy potions to be more consistent in resource requirements. Animal bone can now be powdered. You need that animal bone for one of the flask types.
Okay.
It requires powdered animal bone. And the way you get animal bone is there is a skill that you train in the survivalist tree that allows you to get bone and blood when you are harvesting animals. Excavation now grants plentiful harvest, mining, quarrying, and digging. Yes, I shifted down one of the points of plentiful harvest from the special, I think I renamed them specialty trees, down into the an excavation and harvesting tree because it just kind of didn't make sense that there wasn't one in there. Harvesting Basics now grants plentiful harvest, skinning, and logging. Deprecated the plentiful harvest rating stats as they were no longer needed. Yeah, I had put them in at one point as kind of a floodgate, and I was just like, F it, this is like 25 stats, and they're really irritating me, and we'll just put any stat gains that you gain for plentiful harvest into the one bucket, and we'll get you multiple ways to get the +4 points you need to get to 5 to make the magic happen. So there's multiple ways that you can do that via flask, skill training, and group leadership, as well as discipline. So there's a plethora of ways to get those +4 points.
A vector.
So
Victor.
There you go. Buffs can be added to the survival tray, but this does not include heals. Updated Wild Charge, Bull Rush, and Elk and Hellbutt descriptions to remove references to holding down the button, and noted the abilities as instant cast, as they are instant cast now. Added a sin debuff icon. How has that gone so long without an icon?
It had an icon. I think somebody removed it, and so they added it back.
Okay.
Somebody.
Corrected an issue preventing the centaur from loading out Retaliate in the harvest tray. Corrected an issue preventing you from re-adding block, holy symbol, and Retaliate to your tray after removing it. This is for the cleric. Duelist ambush now requires a fencing weapon. That makes sense. Corrected an issue where using Go for Broken stealth tray would leave you with reduced movement speed. Removed Bull Rush from the Myrmidon class, as this is a Minotaur exclusive power. Disengage now causes damage. Okay, we're getting down to the last page. Can we zip through this? Updated loading screen UI prefab and added 4 new loading screen arts. Billy went through and added some new loading art. Yay! Continuing to add new inventory icons to items like Geomancy. Yes, so the little crow icon should now start to go away where you see it for everything. Potions can now be loaded out via the power book to the survival tray. Opening the map while crafting will no longer result in a broken state and loss of items.
Yikes. That's a good one. Good one to fix.
Yep. Fixed a bug in the trade controller that prevented any trades from succeeding. Wow, we had some good bugs in here. New harvesting animations have been added for several races. So these are the basic. This is the harvest with no tool for Ganetian, human, half-giant, centaur, minotaur, and female elves. Alchemy Flash should now properly stack with the discipline, power, passive, plentiful harvest types. The mining one is still giving an extra +1, but I fixed that, so that'll go out in the next update. Updates to slag and cobblestone weak points. Improved harvesting crit point animated feedback. Skills. More adjustments to time bank and functionality has been added, such as a fix that doesn't apply time bank if we have a negative seconds. Track activated time bank as skills in training. Track the active time banked as a skill in training. There we go. Have time bank appear as a valid thing to swap on a skill prompt. Give time bank to animated properly when the pip levels up. Yep. Basically fixing a bunch of bugs within the skill tree. Powers. Fix that addresses powers that look scaled up in the powers bar. Yeah, for whatever reason, the ultimate powers were showing up as really huge.
Yeah.
It was weird. Root corrected an issue that the big hit early break threshold, which was using an old 10x damage scale. This means root break will much more quickly when you're attacked.
And I have verified yesterday that it works. So it does work.
What is the threshold for a big hit?
Big hit, what is it? 250. Yes.
250 points of damage.
So if you're hit for more than two, exactly how it works is if you are hit more than 3 times from any source, the root will break, any amount.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are hit for 250 or more, there is a 35% chance that it will break.
Okay, 35%
So
chance.
It's not you're not guaranteed to break if you get hit by more than 250, but there's a chance for it to break.
There's a chance.
And that all adds up to mean that if you're getting beat on, root's going to break quicker.
Okay.
It ain't going to be in 8 seconds.
And if we wanted root to break sooner, we would make it a mez. And a mez is something that breaks when you take damage. Root is not a mez, which is why it's called root and not mez.
Right. And so the upshot is it is working. We can tune the values if we or you are unhappy with the way it's functioning. So, but it is functioning. So
yeah, we've definitely looked at it. And I think some of the too many roots is because Arcane Archer could shoot out to 80 meters.
right. It's the new hotness, right? Everybody's like, bows! It's bow time!
It's bow time!
Everybody get some bows!
Get some bows! Do dots count as hits? Dots do not count as hits.
Dots is a hit. The application of a dot is a hit.
But
the dot
ticking,
ticks is not. No.
Ticks are not considered hits. No.
Not in this case. We can consider we could consider them hits, but we do not. If we wanted to.
That is a
but
choice.
We don't.
Yeah, most of our procs, we either look for the application, which we call a hit, or we look for damage, which is considered ticks. Most of our things don't look for ticks because you could have so many of them on you at one point. Yes. Blight now shows a single blighted icon. Vision of the Allfather corrected an issue that would cause the anti-blind effect to drop off the player. Updated beneficial harvest chance from Way of the Leader to give 5 chance instead of 500% chance. Those decimals every time. Updated descriptions to chain heal styling powers to indicate that the base power jumps to 1 additional target and then is modified by the player bonus jump statistic. Yes, so a chain heal for a knight purposely only jumps 1 target, whereas a chain healer for a healer jumps to 2 targets. And then you can get extra targets by increasing that stat. That is how our knights aren't becoming healers. Also, they don't have a lot of support power, unless you gear that way. Racial skills that grant beneficial harvest chance, again, 5% instead of 500%. Fixed a typo in Plague Lord Decay debuff. The minor disease component of Plague Lord Decay now uses the appropriate. Ranger now has the alertness ability, which lets you become acutely aware of your surroundings and increases your perception by 25, attack power by 50, removes the exposed state, and detecting enemies in stealth for group members and yourself. Holy crap. This ability can be slotted in the ranged, melee, and harvesting trays. What's the cooldown on this thing?
Probably a minute.
Okay.
Or 68 seconds or whatever it is.
It's
Stalkerizing the Ranger.
Yes, it's starting to fold. Didn't we give them flare too, or was that not some type of flare?
They
power?
have flare, yeah. They have flare, and they have that as a group buff. So
okay, I didn't see flare called out anywhere.
They more or less give themselves and their group members perception, and they can also drop flares and set up a perimeter and be like,
okay,
ain't nobody coming in here while they're stealthed.
Flare. Increase some outlying resource nodes, ranks in Tyranny, adding a low-rank named resource to parcels surrounding the beachheads in Tyranny. Removed unobtainium, as I mentioned before, and then we're into known issues. So now we can go into questions and answers. How much time we got?
5 whole minutes.
5 minutes.
However long you want to take.
Alertness has 100% uptime.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a mistake, so we'll fix it. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you. We get a lot of good bugs and feedback during these streams, so thank you for Weebles, and we will fix that. None of these stealth revealing skills work. Is that true?
We'll have to look, right? I mean, last I looked at them, they did, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily... We do know there's differences between develop and live, so we'll just have to... We'll investigate. We'll investigate today.
In 5.3... Ooh. The knight excels at many things. And, in fact, he excels at many things in later game, even when he has more, as we talked about this morning, more armor.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, the knight, once a knight can be rolling around with 3 or 4x effective health because they're rocking 50 to 75% armor and they block, that's going to put their effective health up to 6 or 8x, which is ridiculous.
Yes.
So knight may. So I mean, we're going to keep an eye on balance, like
we always
do. And so if we feel they're if they're truly too weak, we'll buff them up. But they may be one of these classes that takes a while to come into their own.
Yeah, they're one of the, they scale very well, right? They will get insane once they have really good armor.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just the way it is right now. And unfortunately, they don't have access to really good stuff because they're using weapon racks and they don't have the skills to get the resources, and they don't have factories to master. So again, our anticipation for them is that they will scale very well. Question should be regarding, will we see elk, auroch, bear in the game soon? Not enough seen in the drop boxes to help test any significant. Yes, Onrez. I would expect more creatures coming online within the next milestone. At least I definitely know there's some on hooks, and I've seen the animations and the NPCs. They will be coming online. There is no reason to attack a knight. There's always reasons to attack a knight. Wood Elf Teleport is making Rangers scarily mobile. The legions of people switching to Wood Elf Ranger indicate a balance issue. Do you plan on making changes in response to players swarming to a race class combos we recognize as OP? So what we need to do is actually look at the logs and see where people are going, because anecdotal information really doesn't help us, because within one play session for you or 2 play sessions it may be a thing, but we will start making a lot of these changes based on what the logs are telling us once we have more people in there. Right now you guys are the early brunt bug fix and find kind of force, and you're showing us where all the high nails are, and we're kind of knocking them down as these patch notes show. Which, thank you for all of that. Can you explain why you guys decided to go back and lock armors to races when the skill tree grants advantages to only one?
That's not true.
Yeah, I think the skill trees give advantages to multiples.
Yeah, I mean, you need to take a look at the way the skill trees are set up now. The armor trees are not just like, it's not set up as plate leather. We're basically there are all types of mitigations in the tree, basically.
Okay.
So you're not limited to just one type, right?
Even I rolled a Wood Elf Ranger, so that should be enough evidence. Onrez says that. Wood Elf Rangers, all right, they are cool. Camouflage is really cool. Have you guys been noticing anything interesting with the camouflage bugs? Because I haven't seen any bugs come across my plate, which always has me dubious when a bunch of new stuff goes out.
Yeah. Tarding sucks. Are there any plans to change this? Yes. Yes, there are plans.
Yes, there are plans.
In fact, we were just talking about those plans just before this live stream.
Yeah, it was funny because Gordon sent me an email, and I'm like, we put in a ticket for this 3 months ago. It's just we haven't had time.
Yeah.
We're always trying to juggle things and get them to a good enough state and then move on to the next thing so we can get more stuff out there. And it is definitely one of the bigger challenges is not having a lot of time to devote to every single feature. So Steven has He has dived back into targeting as we speak. So I'm hoping some good stuff within either next update or 2. Rat Cleric's hit points are the same as Half Giants. Con is not working yet. I'm pretty sure Constitution is not working yet because it contributes to a pool thing. And we currently have an issue where parent stats granting to attribute pools as a coefficient multiplier don't do it properly. So we have a ticket in for that, and we're waiting for engineering to fix that one. And yes, they will.
Right. So the non-gibberish answer of that is certain. not that you're saying gibberish. It's just like a lot of technobabble.
Mumbo jumbo.
Your base constitution ain't there, but constitution you get from other sources like skills and stuff, I believe, are working.
Okay.
Right? But it's it's the other way around. The ones from the skills are not working. You're getting the base. It's just the bases are the same. So.
Okay.
Which I guess that didn't help to clarify, did it? Anyway, Yes.
Character sheet. The new UI is in progress as well as the power book. So we're hoping to see those things really quick. The new character sheet is pretty slick. You have the intermediate one that you can look at by pressing O for right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's either the base or the skill tree one is not working. We have a ticket in there, and some of those things you just kind of you submit the ticket and you forget about it because you have a bunch of other stuff that you're working on, and somebody else will grab that and fix it at some point, and magically stuff just starts working.
Yeah.
That's kind of the joy of having a lot of this stuff is just someday it just starts working. You're like, oh hey, this is working now. Especially when it's something that you can't control because you have a lot of your own issues that you're trying to fix. And if you were to focus,
people can't control.
Right, which if you're focusing on everything, there's just too much. When will mounts be added? Well, we technically have mounts with the form of catapults.
Yeah, that's true, yes.
Right, catapults technically use the back end to the mount system. Things that move you around faster, that will come in the future. Can we get a chart of attributes to stats? When can we help you test the impact downstream if you know what you want, the impact downstream?
Well, I mean, for the most part, can the character sheet do that?
The new character sheet shows them part of the advanced drill down, the third tab that didn't get hooked up. We're going to actually, in that tooltip, it will tell you what the parent stats are.
Well, I mean, we basically really want to have a TLDR section that basically has everything, right? All the nitty-gritty stuff that power users enjoy.
Gathering is very, very monochrome now with no crit chance till deep in the trees. I would disagree with you, Edwin Silverhand, which is why I gave everybody the energetic harvest power rather than hiding that away behind a discipline. Basically, everybody has a chance to play that minigame and the weak spot minigame unless you just really hate those things and you just hold left click. Speaking of which you can still do.
But I mean,
but speaking of which, because people are starting to put results up, and we do have a ticket in, and hopefully that will come out soonish as well, which is the ability for a power from a tray to override the left click if you are holding left click. Because right now it feels really laggy or delayed if you do it that way, rather than left click, one, left click, one. If you just hold left click and press one, it doesn't actually intersperse it into the combo chain until much later, which makes it feel like it's laggy. Right. We will get the ability queuing or power
input
queuing
11.
in.
Well, don't call it. Well,
yeah, what do we call it? Input queuing? What do we call it?
Just input improvements. Right?
Okay.
Queuing is a loaded. That's because it's not going to be queuing, right?
Yeah, it's not technically
you say queuing. People are going to think like, oh, I can queue up 3 abilities and throw up my hands. It'll do them. We're not talking like that, right?
That's the 15-year-old approach, but it is all right. Okay, input improvements.
Input improvements so that you
don't get confused.
You don't get confused, and you can click the button, and what you click is what you get.
Yes, but basically the main tray will take priority over left clicks, which is the important thing.
Right.
Question, doesn't the energetic harvest just add damage, where in the tooltip does it add crit damage? I don't think it does add crit damage. It adds more weak point chances. We don't add crit point amount. That will come from another vector. I think that will come from itemization is where that one is supposed to come from. Tooltips are rarely ever correct, and with this new tray tech coming online, there's much more confusion. Tooltips are rarely ever correct. Rarely.
Okay.
You picked the wrong two guys to tell that to. I think they're correct more often than not.
Yes.
I
would take issue with the rarely.
Rarely correct.
Now, are they often wrong? Maybe.
But rarely correct?
But rarely correct. Come on now.
Yes, and if you have a categorization problem where it's like, oh, the range is wrong on these all the time,
right?
That is something we would like to know. But definitely people go in and update those things as we make the powers.
Right.
And yes. I think it takes as much time to make a tooltip as it does to make a
power.
No,
I mean, I'm notorious for forgetting to update something, to change the text when I change stuff. But you know, so there. That's that is me a lot of times, but I'm trying to get better.
Is the C power working as intended? Fessers can use it twice when full, but Knights can only use it when it's full, even though it only uses 25% of the power.
No, so you use 50% of your power. Now, that said, maybe the there's not a lot of. It might be the way it appears, if that makes sense, because it sort of grows up.
Oh,
right?
so does the UI adjust to how much is needed per? It's probably
I don't think
assuming
it does,
0 to 1,000.
but just the way the Philip looks might be fooling the eye.
I'm guessing that it actually, you can use it. Basically, you can use it when it's at 50 for the knight or the classes where it costs 500 instead of 1,000. But that bar is only actually on a scale of 0 to 1,000, and 1,000 is full.
Right.
So it doesn't know to adjust it for the required amount for that power.
And it's really, I mean, this is a
sounds like a bug
discussion. Well, I mean, I don't think it's a bug. It's really, what do we want, right? Because right now, you could just as well say that filling it up is 1,000, and it takes you half to. Right, I mean that's just as valid. If it's is it a bar or is it an indicator that you can use it?
Yes, it probably should tell you. Yeah, we need to decide which it is.
Yeah, this is a design discussion.
Yes.
You guys are 7 minutes over.
Okay.
7 minutes over. Holy.
Yep.
Basically, we should need to make it whatever is least confusing to people,
Yes.
so when they can use the power.
Yeah.
Yes, the Ranger C power allows because you get things like that.
Everybody, yes, and there. I guess there was only a note in here for the Ranger, but we reduced the cost of activating your ultimates to 500 for Ranger, Knight, Confessor, possibly others. But those are the three
Duelist?
I remember.
Duelist?
No.
Is vanished?
No.
Vanished to 1,000?
Nope. Yes.
Okay.
That I know. That it wasn't.
Okay, itemization. Is it impacting the final proc of the node versus the per hit table, or is the finer things the itemization you're talking about, or tools and finer things? Seems like a limited path where all gatherers are going to a limited option. That's definitely not the goal, Onres. The final proc of the node. So what would affect the final proc of the node, which would be the harvest critical chance and the harvest critical amount. Which is funny because those came online before weak point critical chance and weak point critical amount came online. So there's actually a set of 4 variables there for damage crits and yield crits. Those are 2 different things. And the thing that we are always very protective of is going to be the yield critical amount and chance, because those things can really, really screw up the economy if we let them get out of hand. And you guys all remember the old potions that had plus 10 to crit amount on them, which it basically rolls the crit table 10 times. So it feels like a ridiculous pinata. I think I've capped that amount stat very low to protect against things like that. But we wanted to test and see what would happen if we tuned it up really high back in the early days, just to make sure that it would work. Are we going to get new disciplines anytime soon? Yeah, we just put out 10 new harvesting disciplines. So there's 10 new harvesting disciplines, and each race got a new discipline. So there's actually like 20...
Champions got a new discipline.
Champions got a new one. Black Mass got updated. So over time, we'll just eke out and...
So yes, a dozen new disciplines.
Yes.
Just now.
In fact, I would suspect that we may even make a pass and cull some of the weaker ones at some point, just to make the field of choice not so daunting.
Yeah, strengthen the gene pool.
Right, just cause.
You guys are 10 over.
Okay, well,
Jack's not as mean.
yes.
You don't send us nasty grams. You guys are over. Come on.
Do you guys still have plans to do major passes on class powers before soft launch? Use new directional tech that was being created for the assassin and making combat more directional sensitive than it is right now. We continue to do.
Yeah, I mean, we're never going to stop.
That's just the thing that happens. Every update, somebody's going to get some tweaks. It's not like we plan on letting things go quiescent for a period of time and just waiting and be like, okay, now it's time. Just over time, things get fixed. We fix bugs. We find things that are.
I mean, I guess I could go prattle on and on about, like, should you fix something versus not fix something, but we will always fix stuff that's broken, right? And I don't like tweaking for tweaking's sake just because I'm bored or I feel like fiddling with something. It's always going to be for a reason, but yeah, we're always going to be tuning things. So
yes, and the new directional tech is definitely something that is now basically, it's part of the toolbox, right? We just added more things to the toolbox, and we can now make powers that do something based on direction. Will the positional tech be used on the Templar? Again, as we see fit, we will start adding that thing in, and as we have time. Will parry ever be melee only as the text indicates?
Yes, as of now. No, I literally fixed that Friday, I think.
Yeah, I
so
think
it
that
should be
that will go in our next
not.
push to in our next push out to test. That one definitely got fixed because I saw a patch note on that
yes.
one.
All right, say goodnight, Shirley.
Okay.
Right. Good night, Shirley.
We are getting it is time to go. Thank you for coming out for our monthly review of what we've did, some of the reasoning behind it. I hope you enjoy seeing behind the curtains into why we make some of these choices, and seeing some of our patch notes illuminated by us.
Indeed.
And we will see you next week for typically what we show is something that we have worked on, and we'll have to figure out what we're showing on Tuesday.
And by the way, I'm out next week, so
oh yes,
it'll just be Blair.
Oh great! And next week is the Thanksgiving week. Yes, yes,
yes, it is.
Where has this year gone? Oh my God, we have gone through lots of stuff this year. So we should probably start thinking about doing retrospectives too, because we like to show where we were at the beginning of the year to where we ended up, because that's always fun. Because those of you who see the incremental changes don't realize it as people who have gone away for a couple months or a good portion of the year. And they're like, wow, this has changed a lot.
It's a new game.
So again, thanks for coming out. I will see you on Tuesday for the next live version thingy-me bobber of the month. And thanks for coming out.
See you guys.
See ya.